the Harbor.Church podcast. My name is Katie Rose. I've been gone for a minute. Feels like we've dropped 100 episodes in the 1 week that I was away, which is cool. There's been some awesome stuff going on out there. But I'm back, for better or for worse. More excitedly, I am joined today by first-time podcast guest.
Yeah, first time.
Lexi Cuddly.
Yes.
That is how your last name is pronounced.
I think there's technically an in there, Cuddly. There's why that
You're
R
not even
is,
sure?
I don't think the generations are sure.
It is a point of contention.
It's a crazy spelled last name.
Yeah.
We just do what we can with it.
So I just call you Lexi.
That's fine.
Yeah, we'll keep it easy. No government names necessary. But welcome. Thank you for being here today. For those that don't know Lexi, she is our director of teams here at Harbor.Church. So she helps coordinate all of the volunteer teams that you see every weekend, which is a lot of effort. We got a lot of people doing a lot of things. Yeah. And you're helping everybody do their best to serve God, which is awesome. And keeping it organized. I was going to get into describing you, but I don't think I need to. I think your personality will come out pretty clearly in this conversation, and I mean that in a positive way.
I hope so.
But to kick things off, outside of what you do here at Harbor, tell the people a little bit about just like your life, family, how you ended up on Cape Cod and at Harbor.Church.
Yeah, so my husband is Brian. We have 4 kids. And he was, which is a new verb tense in there, he was in the Coast Guard. We just retired from 20 years of moving wherever the Coast Guard had us and wherever God wanted us. And we decided at the end of that, what do we want for our lives? What do we think God wants for our lives? And ultimately, stability on Cape Cod right now was what we felt like God wanted. And Harbor had a lot to do with that. We saw what God was doing at Harbor, and we knew that we had to be here for it. Yeah. So here we are.
Right on.
Still in Cape Cod.
Yeah.
In it.
And dove in feet first, I would say.
Sometimes
I'm having a hard time with language.
Sometimes it
feet
feels
first.
Sometimes it feels face first. But I think in fact it probably was feet first.
It fell face first into Harbor.Church. It does feel like that sometimes. Yeah, any given Sunday.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys dove right in, which has been awesome. It's been really cool to watch you and your kids, your whole family, just like really get plugged in all kinds of different ways. Which leads right into our topic of the weekend, which is nice. So we've been in the Parables series.
Yep.
Looked at this week the shortest of the parables. I would say it was roughly 2 sentences. But the
keeping it brief
idea is that a kingdom divided or a nation divided cannot stand.
Yeah.
If there is fighting against one another in a family, in a country, in a church, it will eventually fall apart. Yeah. Jesus tells us that. And basically what we dug into with that was the importance of unity. Yeah. We focused on the church, which makes sense, but super applicable in every area.
Yeah, sure.
In family, in your workplace, in your neighborhood, on Cape Cod and in America, and just the need for unity and the command for unity, actually, that God calls for the church. We especially highlighted one of Jesus' final prayers before the cross was that his people would be unified. So clearly it mattered to him.
Yep.
Therefore should matter to us.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I kind of want to focus on, we talked a lot, or Pastor Josh talked a lot in the message about what kind of destroys unity, things to look out for. I'd love to focus more of our conversation a little more on what it looks like to cultivate it, which we touched on at the end of the message, but there just wasn't time to really get into that. So I think that would be helpful to me and to you and to our listeners, hopefully. But let's start with the home front. The family. As our pals just heard, your husband was in the military for 20 years, which means the battle for unity in your family, I imagine, was a little different. Yeah. What did that look like in your marriage with 4 children in the mix, moving around? How did you find unity when you maybe weren't even physically together? Yeah.
I think first, I think a lot of things happen. They start in the home front, 100%. Like things that we want our children to be or become, it starts there. What we want to see ourselves do elsewhere, a lot of that started in our house for us. And because we moved roughly every 4 years. So we had about 7 homes in the 20 years. And so some places we moved a little bit shorter, but it was we had to make some pretty radical decisions, because not only did we move around for 20 years, but we also, for the end of his service, we were geo-batching. So he was living in Florida and I was living up here in Cape Cod. And so the battle for unity seemed to get a little bit more intense at that point.
Yeah, it's long distance.
Right,
yeah.
long distance. Our oldest hasn't really fully lived in the home. He went away to school for a year, and then he played hockey in Atlanta. And now he's in New Jersey. So like we were kind of all over the place at one point. And I think one of the things that we had to do was we had to make sure that we were prioritizing what we needed to prioritize. Like we were going to major on the majors. We were going to set aside time. We were going to be really intentional about the time that we did have. So if we only got 10 days a month, or we only got 12 days a month, we only got 5 days a month, or with Justice coming home, maybe even less than that, we were going to make sure that we took that time. And the process of doing that is not popular. It means saying no. So for us, unity meant that we couldn't be all things to all people all the time. It meant that we would have to really hone in and focus. And so we put a couple things in place. Like during the time he was away, we read through the Bible in a year. It took a little bit longer than a year, but
often does.
Yeah, a year and 2 or 3 months, because we were going to mark that time. Like, what can we do to make sure that we're on the same page? We wouldn't, even though we weren't living together, I wasn't making parenting decisions by myself. Yeah. Even if it meant like there will be a consequence to that. I don't know what it looks like right now, because I need to go talk to your father.
But it's coming.
That.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah.
And we're going to make that decision as a unified people. We also set really early with our children, like, Dad might not always be home. And there were stations where he was gone more at others than, Cape Cod was great for, he pretty much came home every day. That was sort of, that doesn't always happen. And so it didn't matter if I was back on the home front being the majority disciplinarian or if he was home. Like, the children were never going to divide us. Like, we are on the same team. Yeah. You're not going to ask me to sleep over and get a no and then go to Dad and get a yes. We're not playing that game. Yeah. And so, but I think the thing that was hardest for some of the people around us was, like, in those seasons, we're going to have to say no to some stuff. And we're still kind of in that now. My husband's job is a lot different. He's basically home every other week. And so it means, no, we actually can't do that because Brian's home and this is all I get. So we're going to surround ourselves in this moment. We're going to go do this thing and we don't have time to do that. Yeah. And so I think if we can prioritize, and that's church, that's family, that's individually, that's within your connect groups. If we can prioritize what's important, and maybe instead of trying to do 100 different things, if we're just doing 2 or 3 things in unity, like, the other stuff will kind of maneuver around it. Yeah. But it's making some decisions you don't want to make. Yeah. And it's saying no to things that you probably want to say yes to. But really, at the end of the day, like, the relationship between Brian and I was the number one relationship out of every other relationship that was around us.
Right.
So
your decision has to be based on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I think it even, just as you're saying that, translates so well into even how a church needs to be run. Because there are so many good things
100%
to be done.
Yes.
So many good things.
Yes. Innumerable amounts of good things.
Yes. Like, there's no limit to the good things that can be done and the needs that have to be met. And that's true as a church. That's true as a person. Like, there's 100 wonderful people in my life. Yes. I'm not, like, good friends with all of them. I'm not that popular. But, like, you get the illustration of, like, there's plenty of things to do. And most of them aren't bad.
Right.
You just can't do all of them. Yeah. So you have to know what is the most important. And even, as a church, we've had to say no to some really good things. Yeah. Because they would take away from the main thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what was that like, to get a little bit in the weeds? Like, how did you and Brian decide? I'm sure it was just a series of conversations, but, like, how do you know what should be the priority? Like, what to say no to? How do you get that discernment?
How do you get that discernment?
And maybe we're still looking. That's
big questions from Katie Rose. Yeah. I think you can't do it without communication. You can't do it without communicating to your spouse. And getting to a place where you can have communication that is not laced with offense. Like, we have to talk about this thing there's a lot of emotions. I'm probably going to have some emotions. You're probably going to have some emotions.
Let's just be clear about that. From
like
the outset.
it's gonna be there, but like we have to come to a point where we can make a decision without dealing with offense, whether it's something I want to do or something I don't want to do. And so communication between us is key. And also my communication with God has to be on point, because if my husband's like, hey, we're doing this, and I'm like, no, we're not, I then have to go to God and be like, God, are we doing this?
Was that right?
Please say no. Please say no, we're not doing this. And he's like, we're doing it. And so I think it's communication with my husband. It's communication with God, but it's also me being able to, I mean, I know nobody knows this about me, but kind of have a tough skin. and I am upfront.
Yeah. You're a direct person. I appreciate that about you.
White direct person. And I think sometimes that comes from a protective nature where like, I get that you want me to do this, but I can't do this because I've chosen to protect this area. And so if you continue to push me,
Right.
you're actually, you don't know it, but you're coming against my marriage.
Yeah, you're threatening.
And so
some big things. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't think anybody here has ever seen Lexi threatened.
I don't want to. I'd like to be clear.
But you know, I think clear communication is that. Like, hey, I actually can't do this thing that you want me to do right now. And it's because I only have this much time with my family. And that's where the priority needs to be. And my real friends and my real people and the people who love me, they are fine with that. And they know the state of my life, you know, and the crazy flux that it is on the time, all the time. But that communication has got to be key. And to be like, you guys are going to hear maybe a highlight reel of my life. Like, it's not always sunshine and rainbows and unicorns.
It's not like you talked to Brian once and you're like, great, we're on the same page about everything forever. Bye.
Like, but the communication has improved over time. We've been married for 20 years. So our communication should be getting better and not getting worse.
Hopefully.
Right. And so being able to say like, hey, I need to have this serious conversation about something with you, whether it be how we're going to discipline a child, what we're going to do, what's going to happen. Okay, let's sit down and have that, and let's kind of hash it out, but in as little emotion as possible.
Yeah.
And figure out what we're going to do to move forward. And that's how we made decisions like geo-batching him down to Pensacola for 1.5 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's how we made decisions about whether or not we should send Justice away to prep school so he could go play college hockey. Like, all of our decisions were made, and we're going to sit in this, and we're going to have communication, and we're going to decide what's the best thing for our family. And we're going to talk about like, what does God have for our family? Like, what have we seen him try to do in our children?
Yeah.
You know, and then we use who God's been in their life to make decisions, or who God's been in our life to make those wise decisions. Yeah. So I don't think it can be done without communication. While I don't have all the answers to, I think discernment is sharpened by just constantly coming to God with every little thing. I lost my keys, God.
Yeah.
Should I send my kid away to school? Should my husband live at home? Or should we move the whole family? Is it time to get out of the Coast Guard? Like, it's little things. And
I have a bad attitude about this. Yeah.
My heart is black, you know, and so it's all the conversations. It's not just coming to God when it's hard, because I think when we do that, we're like, oh, we can't hear God. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing in this situation. Well, you haven't cultivated sitting with him, so you don't know what it feels like to have communication with him. And so if you can work on that in the small areas, like I lost my keys, I don't know what to do, my car isn't starting. Hey, I mean, all the little like naughty, like what curriculum do I pick for my kid? My kid's driving me crazy right now. Like, what? If we're having those conversations with him, I think the bigger conversations become easier.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. And actually, we were just speaking of our pal Hannah, who was a recent guest on here. And that's something I learned from her in a very real way in recent years, of like, literally everything is a matter of prayer. Everything all the time, always.
And when it's not, I'm the one screwing it up, and it's infinitely getting worse. I'm watching my day degrade, and I should have just prayed over my keys. You know, like
yeah. So good. So from that, I think it leads into another really big piece of this. If you're majoring on the majors, you've had that communication, whether it's with your spouse and your family or your friends, primarily with God, on what he wants to be most important in your life, and then it trickles down from there. But whatever your group of people is, But God makes it really clear that there should be a group of people.
100%.
This is not a solo sport as much as many of us want it to be sometimes. So let's start there. Why does community matter so much to God?
So I think that community is important, and I think it matters because when I look at how God's changed me throughout being in community, I've started to realize that community is the place where he's actually going to sharpen my ability to be in unity. It's going to be the area where he tests my ability to actually walk in unity, because I'm going to show up at a group, and because the kingdom of God is vast and wide and has all sorts of people in it, I'm going to come up against literally everything that's different than me. People who vote different than me, people who vaccinate their children different than me, people who, the crunchy mom's going to meet the mom that shoves Twizzlers down her kid's throat and she's going to have to deal with it. It's going to be the place where I come in contact with people who have all different kinds of marriages, who have all different things going on in their life. And some things I'm passionately against because they're my own convictions, but yet the kingdom of God is bigger than that. And I don't get to stop what God's doing because someone's different than me. And so he's going to use a group of people, and he's going to both sandpaper me down and soften me a little bit, guys, a little bit.
Work to be done.
I'm not leaving
for
here.
all of us.
I'm not going to leave here the softie that I think everybody wants me to be. Sandpaper me down a little bit and make me softer, but also sharpen me at the same time, which is like the exact opposite in my mind, but both. The mystery of God, but also he's going to use that, and he's going to take a moment where he says, listen, I want to see, is the kingdom moving forward the most important thing to you? Is it literally the thing that you can put before you and not care if someone believes something doctrinally different?
Right.
Like, is it something that you're willing to fight for to the point where they have doctrinal differences or political differences or racial differences or whatever? Like,
or they're just annoying. Yeah. And I say that about myself. I'm annoying. I'm not saying You're like, Katie, you are. I was going to bring it up, but I'm glad you said it first. You're annoying.
Your word's not mine.
But it's true. Yeah, we're going to come up against that.
Right. And we have to figure out how to live in that group. And we have to figure out, are we going to link arms and literally storm the gates of hell for everyone around us?
Right.
Or are we going to let the enemy pick us off and dismantle us and let us be useless for the kingdom?
Because of small differences. Yeah.
Because of small differences that we are not, that are not going to, they're going to be non-issues in heaven.
Yeah, we will not care.
But we're taking the minors and we're turning them into majors. And because of that, we're literally ruining church unity. And so community is going to be the place where that happens.
Yeah.
And you're either going to make the choice to love God more than your ideals and move in the direction of what he wants for the kingdom on Cape Cod, or you're going to hold on to your idols and you're just going to lay flat and you're going to let the enemy render you useless. And I can't, we all have our hang-ups. We all have our insecurities.
Sure.
We all have our hills that we're willing to die on, metaphorically. At the end of the day, are we going to allow the enemy to use those against us? I just don't think we can. I think we have to push our insecurities aside and our ideals and our ideologies and say, God, what are you trying to do here? I'm on board. I don't care if that person prays differently than me. I don't care if that person goes to a different church. They love you. We're linking arms. We're on board. Let's do what God has for us in this area that we live in. And community is going to be the place where that happens. It's not going to happen by you showing up to church, turning around and going home. You have got to get into community. He's going to grow you there. He's going to challenge you there. He's going to challenge you in the areas that are sort of the intangibles. You're not going to sit in a Bible study and have someone preach to you about, you're not going to find in scripture, you need to, there are different political sway than you, so we're going to love that. Like, you're going to have to deal with that, like, nitty gritty.
You gotta live it out.
You have got to live it out. And it's a place where we get to take the words of the Bible and they come alive off the text, and we're just putting them into action. And that's where people see it. And when people see our unit, I think that's the thing that sticks out to people. When people show up at Heart, oh my gosh, I just spoke to a woman yesterday in church. Her daughter had been coming. She came, and she just could not believe how, even though she went to a different church, she was so welcomed here. That her daughter had true community here. People of all different ages. She had introduced her to all of her friends, and she said, I can't even believe the community here. Like, I will go back to my church with a testimony about how you all have interacted with my daughter. And imagine the non-believer when they walk into that. Like,
right, it's different.
It's different, and it's weird for them, and they don't know what to do with it. But they leave, and they're like, the world's collapsing around me. Everybody's divided. But here in this space, the only thing that mattered was Jesus. So what do I do with that? And so I think that's why community matters. I think it's a testing ground for us living out our words.
That's so good. And it even makes me think, like, I remember I was sitting in I might have told this story in here before, but I was sitting in a Bible study with John Petty, like, probably 7 years ago. Sorry, John, but I was not listening to what he was saying, because I'm still giving him credit, though, because he's the one that technically taught me it, even if he didn't mean to. But I remember we were going through the Gospels, and it occurred to me, and maybe everyone else has thought of this, but it was like a huge epiphany for me. God could have given us the Gospels written from Jesus' point of view, and we could have gotten his thoughts, but we didn't. And therefore, the only way that we actually know how to model Jesus is by interacting with other people, because that's the only thing we know for sure that he did. You know, like, that's what we have to base ourselves off of. I cannot be compassionate alone in my room, except for myself, and that's easy. I love myself. Everything I do is great until I'm with other people. I'm like, oh, maybe everything I do isn't great. Turns out. It's just huge. And it's the only way to actually put our faith into action, and to, be a city on a hill, right? We're not here for ourselves. And that's the major point, right? Once if you're really bought in on Jesus and following him, then it's just not about me anymore.
It can't be. I'm going to ruin it.
Freeing way. If it is, we're all in trouble.
Oh,
this is bad news.
Yes, it is. Bad news for the world. Bad news for the world.
We're going to let that one go. I didn't think you'd be
You think it would be me?
The biggest threat to, like, going down a bad rabbit trail, but I think you might be, which is fun. All right, so when inevitably we are offended by people around us, like, there's going to be, and we talked about that in the message. People are people. I am one too, and therefore I know that we suck. We're selfish, and we're prideful, and even those who are pursuing as hard as they can after Jesus are gonna screw it up. They're gonna say something that hurts you, or they're gonna do something that hurts you, or they're just going to be so annoying that you can't stand it, or whatever. You know, like, it's gonna happen. It's just part of it. Like, we're very different human beings. And when I'm in the right state of mind with Jesus, I can celebrate that, and when I'm not, I want to strangle someone. Just being honest. It's not right, but it's real.
She's speaking for both of us.
And that's where we come to the bitterness that we talked about this weekend, which is an absolute cancer. And all over the Bible, it talks about rooting out bitterness. How do we begin with that? Like, what does that process look like? Because it sounds good. And nobody wants to be bitter. And yet... we are all the time. All the time. So where do we start with that?
So we talked a little bit before about communication, how my communication is with my husband versus, and I also have this element of communication with God. And again, I think a lot of personal relationships come back to communication and being in community. I think if you're in community with people, it's probably easier for you to forgive their faults, but that aggravating person that you hate might be a little bit easier to hang on to that bitterness. We have tendencies, and I'm speaking to myself, to be selectively forgiving, where so-and-so is such a good friend of mine, and I've seen her in so many good settings that like I can outweigh that bad and I can forgive her. But this turd is, constant. And it gets a little bit harder. And we don't get to be selectively forgiving. But the communication with God for me has been key. I think that I had to get to a place where I recognized that if I thought I was hiding something from God, I was fooling myself. And so in this idea of rooting out bitterness, and I think it applies to anger and malice and
all kinds of stuff
all
in our hearts.
sorts of stuff we're supposed to put off, and that list is long. When it comes to all of that stuff, I know it's in my heart. I'm pretty self-aware. Like I know that those things are there. But now I need to sit down before a holy and perfect God, and I need to hand it over to him. And it just feels sometimes distant. And it just feels like it's a really hard thing to do. And so a long time ago, like 15 so years ago, I realized that God, he knows everything that's in my heart. He knows every inclination of my heart, every thought I've ever had, and everything that I may ever say. God help him.
Terrifying.
May he help himself. Terrifying, but also completely freeing. Because if I know that he already knows all of the trash that's stashed away in my heart, it's just a matter of me actually bringing it to him.
Right.
And so that's when I got to the point where I was like, all right, when I have something going on, we're going to sit in it, God. We're going to do business, you and me. And a little bit of a more aggressive prayer.
To each his own. Style is up to interpretation.
Nobody's surprised. And I jokingly call it rage praying. But like just sitting on my bed and being like, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of questions and a lot of emotion, and maybe there's some anger and there's frustration, and it's all in there. It's just like, Lord, this is what's going on. This is why I'm hurting. Why is this happening? Why are you allowing all the gross?
Yeah.
All the gross.
Just get it out.
Just let it all out. And I've found, because I do this fairly regularly. I do it fairly regularly, which is people are like, oh, you're usually very calm and like crazy chaotic settings. Well, it's because I've been rage praying for 15 years.
Me and God have not been calm together at all. But that's the safe place for that, right? That's how he calls us to be.
And I had to determine in my own heart, like, I follow this God. If he's not strong enough to handle my anger, like, I don't know if I can trust him.
Right.
Like, is he this perfect, all-knowing, all-strong being if he can't handle, like, the dark things of my heart? Like, that's a problem for me. And I now need to rationalize, like, am I actually going to follow this God? Because he doesn't sound good enough, because he clearly can't handle me, and he should be able to handle me.
Right.
And so I just started to hand all of that over, all the ugly, all the whatever. So when bad things happened in my life, we were doing it with God instead of against God. And I found, after a pretty dark season of life, I found that, I mean, I was really letting it out for a while. And it's not always one prayer.
No, it usually isn't, I would say.
It's a season sometimes.
Yeah.
And at one point I was just sitting there on the edge of my bed, and he was like, are you done? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I think I am.
Yeah, now that you say that.
I feel like I think I emptied it all out. And he said, okay, so now we can start to work.
Yeah.
So like, you thought you were doing business with me, but the business is actually going to start now.
Yeah, you were just clearing space. Yeah,
you were just clearing space.
For him to fill.
Right.
Yeah.
For the journey that I'm now going to take you on of how we're going to deal with this issue in your heart. And those conversations, like, it reared back up again when it was like, Brian's has orders to Pensacola, and I'm going to live the next year and a half potentially without him, and I don't know what that looks like. And I was like, why? And whatever, all of it, all out, all the emotions, guys. It's ugly. It's ugly in that bedroom when the rage praying happens.
Yeah.
And I just sat there and I was like, I think I'm done now. And he's like, okay, so here's what you need to know. You will be better. when we're done with this than when you started. And I could never have believed that if all of the darkness was inside. It takes up all the space. There's no room for the Romans 8:28. Like, I actually am going to come in and do good things. I'm actually going to fix this. I'm actually going to work. Our heart doesn't have room for that when it's black and it's got bitterness and it's anger and there's rage and there's all this stuff in there. So I just started getting it out regularly. And then he would be like, okay, here's what we're going to do. So now my it's rare. It does happen. But my barrel isn't filled to the top with a top like shoved on there with no room ready to burst because we're just regularly rooting all of that out intentionally.
Yeah.
And so I think I just had to get to a place where I was being completely honest. And if we are honest with ourselves, we're not usually completely honest with God.
No.
Hey, there's, hey, this thing's going on in my life. Fix it, Jesus. Yeah. And then, and we move on about our day. And he's like, I want to, but the fixing is a journey.
Right. And you won't let me in.
It's not like this one time. Like, I think about Abraham, like, it's always a journey. I want to teach you this thing about who I am. So I'm going to take you on this journey. Go to a land you don't know. Okay.
Guess I'll start walking. Yeah.
Lay your son on the altar. Like, it's always a journey of him to teach you who he is. And it's never been the snap moment where like, oh, everything just got better and now we're great.
Yeah, me neither.
And so getting it all out, dealing with your emotions before God. So you're not doing it before everyone around you and you're not hemorrhaging your pain everywhere. It's going where it's supposed to go.
Yeah. To the only one that can actually handle it.
He's the only one that could do anything about it. Your friends are just going to stir it all up and rile you up and
don't be sad.
Yeah. It's gonna be fine. God's got you, and He does. But sometimes it's just platitudes.
It's not helpful. Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes it is, but
yeah. There's a time and a place. I think.
Yeah.
I think that a discerning person knows when to say that, and a lot of people don't know what to say. So it's just where they're at, and so I think rooting things out, whatever it is, starts with a true, real, and honest conversation before God.
Yeah.
And then you realize, like, I actually don't have really anything to offer him because all the goodness, I was the one who produced all the badness. And then he got rid of it and he put all the goodness in. So in and of myself, I really have very little to offer.
Nothing. Yeah.
I'm unqualified to be everywhere that I am. And it's only by God's grace that anything good gets put in there, because when I do it by myself, the roots just keep growing. And I will fertilize those suckers all day long. And they'll be big and they'll
justify them. And
they'll break through concrete and like cement. You know what I mean? Like I just think of like a big tree that's in a neighborhood and the roots are just all over the sidewalk. Like I will make all of those roots on my own.
Yeah.
But they don't have to be that way, because I can hand stuff over to God and then he can come in and he can make room for all the good stuff that he wants to do.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah. Which in turn then gives us compassion for the other people
100%.
who are dealing with their own roots. And when we see one of theirs pop through the concrete, it's not like, hey, you suck, I hate you. It's like, been there.
Yeah.
By the grace of God, I'm not there right this second, but I was a week ago and it might be again next week. And like, truly,
Come find me in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And like none of us is better than the other. And suddenly it's a lot easier for me to give grace, because I understand how much grace has been given to me, because I've been vomiting all over God.
That's right. Especially
and he's like, love you anyway.
Forgiveness. Like, I don't realize how much forgiveness I don't give until I make space for him to be like, and I've washed that clean. And it's like, I would never do this for anybody else. Oh my gosh, I haven't forgiven this and this and this and this and this, and so we just I think we just have to make room for God.
Yeah, that's so good. And for me, maybe there's some people listening that I, for a while in my Christian walk, I don't think I ever really wrestled with like the depths of my sin, which is not to say I have found the bottom by any means. We're still going.
Are we supposed to?
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna. But like, I understood salvation. I was like, yeah, I am a sinner. I need Jesus for sure.
Yeah.
But it was a little surface level for me. And I was like, well, for mostly though, I'm a pretty good person.
Yeah.
Because on paper, like I am. And compared to some other people that I could find, sure,
we're always going to find people who are not as good as us.
It's very easy, right?
Line ourselves up next to them.
And I go to church and I'm mostly nice to people and, like all those things. And it becomes very easy to be like, well, I don't need God that much.
Yeah.
And I would never have said that out loud, but that is how I was functioning for years.
Yeah.
While still fully following after Jesus.
Yeah.
And it took some deep rooting of like, speaking of parables, we read the one Jesus tells of, if you see a speck in your brother's eye, take out the plank in your own before you try to help them. And like I had to, I think it's easy to take them and be like, yes, don't judge people, bye. But if you take that kind of literally and use it as like a trigger in your life to say, anytime I recognize an issue in someone else, before I jump on them and try to fix that or get bothered by it or whatever, let me pause and say, God, where is that in me? Because it's probably in me somewhere. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, wait. I suck in a lot of ways, you know, like, crap. And I can fake it to a lot of people pretty well. But like, I know that there is bitterness and there's jealousy and there's anger and there's all kinds of crap in this heart of mine that I just never dealt with because I was happy to stay on the surface level. But that does come out. Whether you want to recognize it or not, like it will eventually spill over and you will... It is better, I can say, to humble yourself first
and be humbled
than to come to the point where it's spilling over and you're like, who am I?
Right.
And that happened to me. I was like, to people I loved dearly, I was awful. I was awful to them because it was just all this crap in my heart that I hadn't dealt with. And then the perfect circumstances in life came to a head and suddenly I was just this like angry, bitter person that I didn't even recognize. That had been there all along, and I hadn't brought any of that to God.
I think also when we leave space by kind of dealing with our emotions, I think we then, because you brought up that parable, I think we then read the scriptures differently, and I think then there's room for me to realize, you know, Pastor always jokes around, just in case you thought you were Jesus in this story, you're not, you know, and it makes you sit and think like, who am I in this parable? Because I know the depth of bad things that I'm capable of. You know, who am I actually in this story? And then we pull out a parable like that and we're like, oh, this has nothing to do with the person who has the speck in their eye. And this is a parable about self-reflection. And man, did I miss it because I was like, all right, I'm going to go take care of my stuff so I can take care of your stuff. You know, it's
like, oh, that's not the point.
The heart of the story. You know? So we read things differently and we see the kingdom differently when our heart has been emptied of the stuff that we're dealing with, and we give God room to come in and just be like, yeah, that root of bitterness, like I'm going to dig it up and it's going to be painful. Because you've had it for a long time. So
it might take a little time to get rid of it.
It's going to take some time. We're going to make some conscious, good decisions regularly. And we're going to root it out. And at the end of this, like I hear this all the time, at the end of this, you'll be better than when I found you. At the end of that, I'm like, when is the end?
Could it be now?
It's not until, no, it's not. I'm always like, is this the end? And then I tell myself, like, you know, this isn't the end. It's never ending.
You're not there.
So it's just that constant process of making room.
Which, again, isn't discouraging. If we recognize, like, that's what we're here for. You know, like, that's actually the point. That's not a punishment. It's like, hey, God.
And he wants that.
Yeah, he wants better for us.
Right.
So if we can learn to actually be grateful for the process, knowing that somewhere down the line, someone's going to come along dealing with the same crap that I was just dealing with 2 minutes ago, and then I get to help them and be like, hey, here's what God did for me, and he can do that for you.
Incredible.
You know, and it's a beautiful
And he knows
thing.
that moment's coming, so he's working on you now for that person.
Exactly,
in 10 years potentially. Who knows? Like he's got this whole thing like 3D chess mapped out, you know, just ready to get you to a point so that you can be the comfort for those who need comfort, right?
So and if we really trust him and know that he has that vision, then suddenly when I'm in the rage prayer, that's not quite my style. I'm a gentler gal.
Oh, you know.
I don't know if I come off that way, but I'm more of like a cry prayer, you know. There's a lot less anger, a lot more sadness for me. But regardless of your style, in those moments, you can then recognize, like, as much as this sucks right now, I do trust and believe that in your hands, this is a beautiful moment moving toward restoration and transformation that can then be capitalized on to bless somebody else and save them some of this pain that I'm currently going through. Last but not least, and we'll get you out of here to your very busy life. So I took a sip of that coffee a few minutes ago. It's so cold, and I wanted to say something in the moment, but you were like really hitting home a good point.
Well, as long as it's not dusty.
It's because Chris made me pour it in the dusty cup.
Don't you like that? You're not a nice coffee girl?
I am, but this
It's not
wasn't
ice.
meant to be ice.
Oh, man. That's
I'm going to
tough.
put some ice in it when we leave here, and then we'll let it
it'll be fine.
adapt.
Yeah,
Speaking of
okay.
transformation, redemption.
You know.
Boom, there it is. Anyway.
Way to bring it full circle.
I can Jesus juke anything. The closing of the message this weekend was the idea that we need to be on mission.
Yeah.
In order for unity to really happen.
Sure.
And which is what you talked about at the beginning. Like if we're really on the same page, if we're shooting for this bigger goal together, then suddenly the minors aren't so important. Yeah. And that's in our family, that's in our churches, that's in our workspace, whatever. Mm-hmm. How do you know what the mission is? Like let's start with family. Like did you and Brian write out an actual mission statement?
No.
Because I know people that do
there
that.
are people who do that. And I'm very impressed by those people who have that mission statement.
I'm not one of those people, to be clear.
We don't have that. Yeah. And do I think it would have been cool? Yeah. But we, in the early stages of our, instead of that, or I don't really know instead, you probably could do both, but we just made sure that we were reading the same authors and pulling out the same stuff so that we both knew what we wanted our marriage to look like. We made sure that we were reading the same books, or I'm going to date myself, listening to CD sets.
Hey,
Chip Ingram
podcast here.
Sorry. And we would go hear those speakers, and we would go sit in marriage conferences, and we would go do those things to make sure that. And then we would talk about it, like, what did you pull out? What do we need to do? And how are we going to raise our kids? Because what do we know about raising? We know not. We still know very little about raising children.
It seems that nobody really does.
Poor Justice is a science experiment, and we have told him that. You're just the first one.
Yeah, did our best.
Try, fail, adjust. And so we just always made sure that we were making decisions on how we. In advance, we had very, very young. Justice was a baby when we were going to those conferences, and we were always just working on our marriage in those early years just to make sure. Because, I don't know that we really understand. I don't know that you can understand what it means to be a Christian wife or a Christian husband and have a Christian marriage if you've never done it. There's just no way.
Figuring it out.
That was how we kind of maintained our unity, and for we would spill that over onto the children, because when we were stationed in Clearwater, I had 2 children when we were in Clearwater, Florida, and Brian was gone a lot in Clearwater. And so it was always me with 3 kids and a huge pregnant belly. And for the most part, my kids were really well behaved, but we actually got a lot of trash from the people around us. How that happens. And maybe next time some lady told me once, she said, you should get a babysitter the next time you need to go out. And I said, if you would give me your cell phone number, I will bill you for the babysitter.
No problem.
And she was like, but people said a lot of really nasty stuff that Brooke and Justice were old enough to hear.
Ugh,
and so, it was really tough. And so we would, before we would go out, I would gather all the kids and I would say, hey kids, listen, I know you guys see what's going on when we go out there, which is crazy. Cause I think we have a bigger family than a lot. I don't think we have a big family. Yeah. I think we have a fairly normal sized family.
Not insane.
Yeah, it's not insane. And so I would say, hey guys, listen, I know you've seen what's going on. The world doesn't really seem like the world around us likes large families. And we were out in the middle of the day because we were homeschooling. And so that was just another just strike against us. What are these kids doing out? Yeah. Oh, gosh. And I would just say, we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to show the world what a larger family looks like. And we can go out there, Justice, you're old enough, because Justice was the oldest. At 7, we had all 4 kids. I said, we can go out there and we can, be crazy and we can throw tantrums and we can do all of these things, Jay, but that's not going to be a really good witness. And I'm not saying you need to make everything perfect or anything like that. You get to be children, and I will defend that. But it doesn't seem like the people like us, but we have an opportunity to show them what it means to love Jesus and have a larger family. So we're going to go out there, and we're not going to go out when everybody needs nap times and everybody's going to be, collapsing. We're going to make intentional decisions about when we're going to go out, and we're going to do the things that we need to do, and we're going to try our best, because you can't control babies. But 7 and 5, we can fall in line,
make some choices.
Yeah. And so I said, that's why we're going to do the things the way that we do them, because we're given an opportunity to show the world around us that clearly, we would get stopped every time we would go. It was crazy. I have a list of the craziest things people have ever said to me in those 4 years that we were there. And I said, we can do things differently. And this is kind of our mission statement. We're going to go out into the world and we're going to be normal, but we're also going to remember that we've been given this opportunity. So we're going to act like we've been given an opportunity. And that would, maybe help me season my words a little bit more.
Sure.
A little bit. There were some people who heard because they said some really nasty things to my children. But realizing the state of our family, the size of our family, what it looked like to have 4 kids, 7 and under, we just made some decisions that we were going to tell the kids, like, it's a blessing for us to have a large family. Yeah. We love the size of our family. It's exactly what God has for us. But when we go out there, we want to show them what we think about our family. Yeah. And so that was kind of like that was the mission statement behind us going out. So that's kind of how we did that family-wise. But no, we never had a mission statement. We were just in unity on how we were going to raise our kids and what we want our marriage to look like.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And I think it's so similar, honestly, to the church. And the early days of Harbor, we sat down in a living room and we're like, all right, God, why are we here? Yeah. What should we do? And we use that to frame everything that we say yes or no to. And our overall mission is connect people with Jesus and with each other, which is the great commandment. And truly should be every individual's overarching mission as well, which is exactly what you were getting at there. It's just a family's kids version of that same exact thing. So you tweak it slightly to your environment. But like, if God really is the most important thing in your life, then everything funnels through giving him glory and loving the people that he has put around me. Yeah. Even to my own detriment. Right. And that's the thing. Like, when we go out, we've been given an opportunity. We're told the world is going to hate us. Nobody's going to like what is the decisions that I make for Jesus. I expect that from the world. Okay. Yeah. And that's fine. But that doesn't change that I reflect that I have the honor and privilege of having a relationship with Jesus Christ. And so when we talk about the mission, like, I think that if we're looking to kind of pare it down, because sometimes it can get really like evangelistic, and we're supposed to go tell people about Jesus, but I think that word kind of scares people. Yeah. And I think people sort of recoil. Well, I can't just like go out into the streets and start telling, be like, Jesus, and it kind of scares them. But if we can just recognize that no matter where we are at any given time, we have an opportunity to bring God glory. Yeah. And if we can remember that's my sole purpose in life is to not be the one who robs God of his glory. Yeah. And that's a constant heart check. Right. Right? Like, because I just did this thing. Right. So it's good. And I did a good thing. And it's like, well, everything good in you has come from God, and every gift and talent that you have is through him. So everything that you've done is not really about you, but about everything awesome that he's done for you. And so, like, if we can go in and just be like, I'm just going to remember my testimony and my talents and be willing to give people my time when I'm out and about and just make sure that I'm just not stealing God's glory. Yeah. I think eventually we'll see a culture change if enough people are just like, no, the Lord did that, instead of like, I have this awesome job. No, God gave me this awesome job. If we can just renew the mind a little bit, then we're going to get to a point where there's just going to be a bunch of people who are like, actually, that glory has nothing to do with me. Yeah. And it's all God. I don't need I don't even want the glory anymore. Just not interested.
It's not good for me. Yeah. It is not good for me to have the glory. Yeah. So I'm going to put the glory back where it's due. And then people are going to start to see all the incredible things that Jesus is doing in the lives of the people at Harbor and the rest of the believers on Cape Cod. And they're going to be like, oh, well, they were just giving God glory. And in the process, I need to figure out who this God is. Because they're handling their success, they're handling their failures a lot differently than I would. And so if we can remember that we're being given an opportunity, that our mission is to not be the one who tries to rob God of the glory in what he's doing, then I think we evangelize more than we think that we do. And so that does then fulfill, like, we're going into the world and we're helping make disciples because people are starting to see how Jesus is working in people's lives. And those open conversations for us to now, like, kind of dig a little bit deeper. Yeah. So the mission for our family has just been like, we're going to just go out there and we're just going to give God the glory.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be glory robbers.
Yeah, that's
We're
good.
just going to just let it deflect. We don't deserve it. And honestly, if we're being really, if we're really taking a hard look at ourselves, we don't do well when we have the glory.
Yeah, no,
like we just turn into prideful jerks, and it's not good. It's not healthy for us.
Yes.
And so God's like, the healthiest thing is for you to give it to me.
Right. Because
I will handle it because I want you to be a better person.
Yes, yeah.
I deserve it. You cannot handle glory well.
Right. And you will be better. Your
and
life
you
will be better
if you just hand it over to me.
Yeah.
And when the world sees a truly humble people handing all the glory over to God, I think that just, it's completely contrasting what they're dealing with in their workplace, where everybody's trying to take the glory for themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I think it just creates a stark picture that gives us room to have deeper conversations and gives us an opportunity to then say, hey, now let me tell you about how you should know Jesus.
Right.
Because it turns out he gave us some pretty clear guidelines. And it turns out that while it's not a prescription and you have to do things this way every time and say these right words and have these things memorized, there's a relationship component that he speaks very clearly to. So let's talk about that. Do you have that?
Start there.
Right. And then we're in discipleship phase, so like I think it starts with our hearts and making sure that we're not like, that thing that I did, it was awesome. Like you did a great thing through the gifts that God gave you. So
Yeah, it's so good. And we're celebrating all that this weekend, right? 9 years of Harbor.Church. We got a big birthday party planned.
Yeah.
And same deal.
Awesome.
It's not because Harbor is awesome.
Yeah.
But it's because God has just, he's done some wild things that we never could have seen coming.
I mean, we'll be here 5 years, and it's the wildest thing we've ever seen.
Yeah, and just the lives he's changed, and the community he's brought together. I mean, literally all of the most important people in my life, other than like my blood family, came through Harbor.Church and have changed who I am completely. And I'm just one of about 1,000 people with that same story. So looking forward to that.
It's going to be awesome.
For being here.
Sure thing.
What a time. It wasn't so bad, right?
Nah, it wasn't so bad. I did say something that should not have been said.
You can say it. You said nude.
I said nude.
Yeah, that's all right. Nakedness is real. And we're going to end on that note. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next week.